Hello, my name is Brian Galebuck, and I will be a guest commentator in this video for Dweebovision. I am a North American Scrabble expert, and in this video, I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully, this will help to improve your game and be fun to watch. I will be playing with the TWL dictionary, the North American tournament word list, and the double challenge rule, in which a lost challenge results in a loss of turn. The game is just about to start, so let's join the action. All right, it's my opponent to go first. I have a pretty good rack. It's a balanced rack, although I have 3 high-scoring tiles in the F, the M, and the V. Now, if my opponent were to play a W, I believe I could play waveform. That would be an excellent play. I'm just going to consider other possible floaters. I don't see a 7-letter bingo in here, so I'm going to rely on another letter to possibly make an 8-letter bingo. I'm going to consider some other floaters that my opponent might play. And my opponent has given me no floaters since they have exchanged 3 tiles. So what do I want to do here? Looks like I should maybe play off some high-scoring tiles. Favor looks pretty good. That would be 30 points, leaving EM, which is a pretty good leave. I could play Foamer or Femora, but that would leave just V, which is not as good of a leave. I tend to favor the word favor. Let's give that a try. All right. Now I have a little bit of a heavy vowel rack, 4 vowels, only 3 consonants. And it does not look very bingo-y. It does not look like a 7-letter bingo, and it's kind of hard for me to imagine another letter that would give me an 8-letter bingo offhand. Although I can look at these various floaters and imagine each of them adding to this rack to see if I have an 8. Well, that's taken out a few of these floaters, but it did add a T. However, I did not see an 8-letter play through the T using my rack. All right, so let's look at some high-scoring areas to play through. I could play in this double-double lane. Are there any 7-letter plays through that A? I don't believe so. How about from the F? Is there a good play I can do from the F? No, not that I can see. All right, so again, I might want to try to play off some high-scoring tiles since I again have 3 of them, but I also want to play off some vowels so I don't end up with a vowel-heavy leave. Now, I'm considering the word comb. That would leave me with 3 vowels. That would be a poor rack leave. I'm just trying to even consider any words that I have that use a lot of vowels, and I'm struggling a little bit to see one like that. I don't want to just play off both E's. Struggling a little bit here to see a good play. Biome. Biome would be a good word. Does that play anywhere? I could play that here. 15 points is not a very good score, but CE is an okay leave. This is dangerous here, leaving this E next to the double letter square. So that's maybe not the best play. I would have liked to play it here, but unfortunately OT is not a word. How about Saiba? I believe that's a word. That would play off two of the vowels. I still have two vowels and one consonant, but that's a much safer play than biome is. All right, in order not to get in time trouble, I'm going to try not to play too slowly here, so I'm going to make this play and hope for a good draw. And I have 3 E's now. Alright, so again I'm trying to consider plays that play off more vowels than consonants. I wasn't really successful on that last play. I did score 18 points, which is not terrible. I did play off 2 high scoring consonants, which is good. Typically, bingo racks don't have multiple high scoring consonants on your rack. Alright, I'm looking in this area. I could place a G here. That's an excellent play by my opponent, getting the P on the double letter square and getting the whole thing tripled. 41 points. So I'm trailing a little bit in this game. Now I'm just going to very quickly consider these floaters to see if there's a possible bingo. This does not look promising though. I am not seeing anything through those floaters. All right. Again, I'm struggling to see any good plays here. What letters go here that I have? I don't believe anything except for an E. An M will fit here. An E or a G could fit here, or an O. Alright, now I have the word geode, if that would fit anywhere. Again, the difficulty on this board is I'm not seeing great places to fit my words that I'm seeing on my rack. Is there maybe a play I can make from the P reaching a double word score? Not that I can see. Alright, now I think I see a high scoring play here. I could do the word eam. That would play off 2 of my 3 E's, which would be a good thing. I'm also getting this M on the double letter square both directions, and I'm left with 2 vowels and 2 consonants. That's the best play I've seen so far, so we're going to make that. This is looking a little more promising as a rack leave. Now, I've used a lot of time already at the beginning of this game. I did the same thing in the last time I was playing. So, I shall endeavor to try to play a little bit more quickly. Now, if there were an A to play through, I'd have the word renegado. Trying to think if there's any other floaters that would help me here. I don't think this T helps me. This C tends to be a blocking tile for horizontal plays, but I could possibly, it's a good floater for going through, but not, I don't believe, with this particular rack. Alright, another high-scoring play by my opponent, and unfortunately I don't have an A to place here for a vertical play. PED does not take a back hook of any letters that I have. So, I'm again stuck in a situation where it doesn't look like I have, at least that I could see, any good scoring play. Do I have something ending in PED? Not that I can see. I might want to try to play something through this C. How about encoder? That scores 22 points. There's a lot of tile turnover with this, which might be a good thing because I believe both blanks are still in the bag. How many S's are still in the bag? I believe all of them. Or the unseen pool, rather. So high tile turnover might help me at this point to pick up some S's or blanks. So I'm going to give this a try. Also could help me pick up an A, which would be helpful in this spot. And I do pick up an A, which would be excellent if my opponent does not block this. I could get axe or lax or tax. Now the X is a good high scoring play, so I'm going to see, other than this spot, do I have any good latex would be a good scoring play. It'd be nice if I could use off one or two of these G's, at least one, because you don't ever want to have duplicate tiles on your rack. Now my opponent is playing much quicker than I am so far. Now here's another high scoring play for the X, but I would need an I or a U to utilize this spot. But that would be a 51 point play. I'm just going to use the pool command here very quickly to see how many I's and U's are in the board, or in the unseen pool rather. 7 I's, 4 U's. That's a huge number. Now my opponent has got another high scoring play with Now, I could play latex right now. That would leave me with 2 G's. That would score 36 points. Now, on the other hand, well, the drawback here is I'm leaving 2 G's. Now, I could use a G here, play something like lag or tag. That scores only 18 points and leaves 4 consonants. I want to try to play off more tiles if possible to try to get an I or a U for this high scoring play, but that could end up being blocked. Should I take latex right now? This is a tough decision. I would like to use up 1 or 2 of these G's. Zag is a good spot for that. But lag leaves a terrible leave. Let's compare again here real quick. Latex, SGG. I don't like that leave. 36 points though is good, and I would block my opponent from using this triple word score. Can I save the X but play off more of these tiles? Well, I don't want to score very few points with something like this. That only scores 12 points. I need to keep scoring to keep close to my opponent. I'm really not sure what to do here. I think I'm going to go for latex and take the points now and just hope to draw some vowels. And I drew a lot of vowels, but they don't seem to be very good ones. I got 2 I's, a U, and an A. All vowels. Four tiles picked out of the bag and 4 vowels. Now, a good cleaning up play could be ig. Would score 19 points. That still leaves me with 3 vowels. Gigue as a word, but there doesn't appear to be an E in the correct spot for me to be able to make that play. Just kind of scanning the board here, seeing if there are any high scoring lanes or anything I should be considering. Not that I can see. I'm going to need to clean up this rack somehow. Another option is I could exchange tiles, and I could get a very high tile turnover by exchanging possibly everything except for the S and hoping to draw one of the 2 blanks, which are still unseen. But I'm only 7 points behind now, and my opponent doesn't score very many points with Vi. Now, does that give me a play here? I don't think that helps me to make another high scoring play. So I'm still considering ig, leaving AISU. It does score 19 points, which is not a terrible score. It's not great. So I could take 19, playing only 3 tiles and leaving 3 vowels and a consonant, or I could trade. Let's see what's in the pool. All right. Well, I don't want to spend too much time. Let's go with ig and hope to draw some good. Now I draw the J for scoring. That's a good scoring tile. Unfortunately, I now have 2 U's. Perhaps trading was a better play than playing ig. The score is tied, but I'm afraid my opponent probably has a much better rack than I do at this point. Now, where does the J go that scores? I'm not seeing any good spots for the J offhand. If I had an E, that would give me something. I could have jive, for example. I see the word Jarrell. That will get the J on a triple letter square. That's a pretty good scoring play, and it does use one of the U's. Frick. I'm not sure that I like that play. That sounds funny to me. I think I'm going to challenge that. I don't believe that's a word. And I'm correct. So with the double challenge rule, my opponent loses that turn, and now the score's still tied, and it's my turn, and I can play the word Jarrell for 30 points, leaving the same rack leave I had before. So my rack leave doesn't really improve that much, but I see the word Yagi and also Yuga. Yuga would play right here, and that would get doubled, so that wouldn't be a bad play. That would leave 2 eyes on my rack, though, so I'm not sure if I want to do that. Yagi would be a better play if I can find a good place for it on the board. So now I have a 30-point lead, but that could evaporate quickly if my opponent gets some high-scoring plays. Now, I note that my opponent had R-I-C-K. That in it of itself is a word, Rick. That could play right here. If my opponent were to do that, could I do anything using this K? Not that I can see. Now I'm still looking for places to play a word like Yagi or Yuga if possible. Yagi would be better because I do need to try and break up the duplicate I if possible. Crank, that's a valid play. Now, that gives me a great play for Yagi right here. 31 points, making cranky. I like it. All right, that looks like a pretty good leave, or a pretty good rack, rather. Still a little vowel heavy, but I think I could play choirs right here. That would be 45 points would be an excellent score, and that's good use for the S. Sometimes it's easy to forget that the S, as Joe Edley says, is for scoring. You don't want to save your S forever and forego high-scoring plays when you have the opportunity to get a high-scoring play using the S. Now, if there was an open C, I'd have the word acquires. Redo, all those words are valid. Now, here's another possible word. Fakir. And that's also good with a U in it. That would be actually better. Fakir scores 36 and retains the S. That might even be a better play than choirs. Just looking very quickly to make sure I'm not missing any bingo opportunities. I'm not seeing any. I also want to look very quickly for any really high scoring Q plays. I don't want to miss those. I think I like Fakir a lot. 36 point, leaving ES, which is an excellent leave. Let's give that a try. All right, I'm back to having a not so great rack. 3 E's again. So I see the word hoys. That would leave me with EE. Okay, all those words are valid. Now that takes an E in back of it. I'm trying to see how I can get rid of 2 E's if possible. I'm not seeing that, but I could play high or ho. This takes only an O behind it, but EO does not look like anything I can do. Alright, I'm thinking of, well, I could do I fits here, so I might not want to use the I right away, and there's only 2 I's remaining. There's also 2 O's remaining. Well, if I do Ho, that gives my opponent a reasonably easy high-scoring play here, but I'm up by 30 points. Unless they score something really big, it's not too bad. All right, I'm still a little short on time, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this play. Let's give this a try. All right. I'm struggling with lots of vowels. I played off 2 vowels, but I think I pulled 2 more vowels and a consonant, so I'm back to having a vowel-heavy leave again. If I could reach this triple word square, that would be good, or this one, but I'm not seeing how to do that with this rack with so many vowels. Okay, my opponent only scores 18, so I scored 6 more points than my opponent in that exchange, so that's fine. Just trying to see. I believe I want to really try and clean up my rack on this particular play, if possible. I'm just not seeing a good way to do it. Should I consider trading again? It seems to me there has to be something better than trading. But I'm just having trouble in this particular game seeing good scoring opportunities anywhere. I think I'm going to go for maximum tile turnover here and see if I can pick a blank. Is that the right play? Well, I could play something like dire, though. That opens up a possible bingo lane for my opponent. And I still have 3 vowels and a consonant. So I'm going to trade. So I'm changing D-E-I-I-O, keeping E-S. All right, well, that's a better leave. So hopefully this will give me enough flexibility to score and have a good leave after my next play. My opponent only scores 19 points. I'm wary of opening a bingo lane. My opponent could have 1 or both blanks at this point. Fred only scores 14 points. Perhaps I should consider using my S here. This would be a pretty board closing move. You would only have this F as a floater. This closes off this triple lane. I like this play. It scores 31 points. Let's do that. All right. At this point, I'm really trying to keep things kind of closed up, if possible, for possible bingo plays. I'm really worried about both of these blanks are still unseen. It's very likely my opponent has 1 or both at this point. I'm going to really try and keep things closed up if possible. I don't care if my opponent gets some points in the corner like this, as long as the bingo lanes stay closed up and as long as I'm maintaining this 50 or so point lead. Now my opponent should be trying to open up bingo lanes if possible, considering the score, and especially if my opponent has 1 or both blanks. They will want to have bingo lanes available. Now, if my opponent doesn't block, I could play something like pet here, would score reasonably. I have to constantly keep an eye out for where are my scoring opportunities so I don't stop scoring and lose the lead. Now, this takes a P. I could play the word pet here. This is a quite tense situation. I'm low on time. I'm going to need to make quick decisions for the rest of the game, but also decisions that keep the board closed so my opponent cannot get a bingo and overtake me. So right now, pet is the word I'm looking at. All right, and my opponent takes that spot, so we're going to very quickly make this move. And I pick a blank. Okay, so I have the word trindle, which does not play anywhere. Now, if my opponent does try to open up the board, I may be able to respond with a bingo immediately, which would win the game. All right, that is not an opening play. That looks like a fishing play, but where would my opponent be trying to bingo? I'm not sure. Now, I don't want to make an opening play. I'm going to do something that keeps the board very blocked. This is 8 points. I don't see where my opponent is going to bingo, and they are going to need to bingo to win. So I'm just going to keep it very blocked up, hoping that my opponent opens up for an opportunity for me. I see the word driblet. Again, if my opponent opens up a spot to try to get a bingo of their own, I may be able to respond with a bingo of my own. All right, there's an O and an S. I'm not seeing any bingos very quickly. I'm just cycling through different letters in my mind very fast to see if anything pops into my brain. I am not seeing anything, so I am going to make another blocking play. And this would empty the bag. But I believe if I do this, my opponent should not be able to bingo. And I still have a 30-point lead. This should be enough for me to stay in the lead and win the game. Oh, I believe my opponent has the word dissuades, a 9-letter bingo which would win the game if they see dissuades. D-I-S. No, there's an I on their rack, and dissuades only has one I. Now, rather than looking for plays that are going to win by my opponent, which won't help me should they play them, I'm going to consider what I can do with my remaining 1 minute and 39 seconds on the clock. I got very scared there for a second, thinking my opponent had an out 9-letter bingo. That would be an excellent finish for my opponent, and rather disappointing for me after I've worked so hard to keep the board closed here at the end. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Now I could play something like alters, using my blank as an S. Now my opponent still has 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so they're going to use all the time that they can to see if they can find a bingo with this rack and possibly through these pairs of letters, which look like the only possible bingo lane that I can see. Perhaps I have a 9-letter bingo. I'm looking at dis, D-I-S. All right. Well, my opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I'd have to start here now, and that doesn't look likely. Now, I still have a 15-point lead, so I just need to try to score points and use off tiles. Lead scores 18 points. That's probably enough to win. What can my opponent do with the S? 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's not going to be enough to win. Are there any other high-scoring spots with the S? Not any higher than that I can see. So I believe the word lead would win the game. I could get more points by playing stead. That's 20 points. But leaving me with LR, that might be a combination that doesn't go out. So that might not be as good a play. But my opponent is going to go out, so that is absolutely fine. This should be enough. 20 points, 59. My opponent is not going to score that many points. Let's give this a play. Give this a try, rather. All right. And that's the end of the game. And I'm going to thank my opponent for a good game. All right. So let's go ahead and examine the game and see what I missed. I feel like I probably missed a lot in this game. I felt like I was rushing the whole time. So hopefully I didn't miss a lot of fantastic plays. All right. And I'm also going to see what plays my opponent had during the game. Looks like she could have played Nutria on her first turn. Also Nairu, but instead she changed some tiles. The computer favors the word favor, which I also favored. So there it is, favor. All right. And I could have played the word amoebic. That's a pretty good play. 26 points. So what did I play? I played Seiba, which is right here at the bottom, one of the lower computer-favored plays. So that looks like a better play, leaving just E. It scores a lot more points. Import, which was my opponent's play. Excellent play by my opponent. Here's where I started getting into trouble with a lot of vowels. Emceed, well, that's a good way to use up a lot of E's at once. At 4C. E-M-C-E-E-D. 26 points. That's a pretty good play. What did I play? I played EAM for 21 points. That was also one of the higher scoring computer choices. My opponent could have played Feased. Played Z for 1 more point. That's a pretty good play. Greenwood. Well, that's a word I have not yet studied. I've studied some 9s, but that is not one that I've studied yet. And even if I had studied it, I may have not seen that play. That is through G2. That is through the WO. Well, that's a Grandmaster level play to find something like Greenwood. That is not a play I considered remotely. Okay, so what play did I make? I played the word encoder, which is not one of the top considered plays, but I was going for tile turnover, trying to pick up a blank. My opponent could have played played just 1A for That's a pretty good play. And here I really struggled deciding on what was the correct plan. The computer favors latex. I strongly considered trying to play off some tiles and trying to pick up an I or a U, which there were many in the bag for this possible XI or XU play, which would have been 50 points. But I took the 36 points right off, leaving myself with not a very good rack leave. My opponent could have played Viva, played Vi, a lower scoring play. I don't like my rack at this point. I could have played Gig at 12 H. Okay, so I played, instead of gig, I played ig. Well, of course, gig is better because you get the G on the double letter square. So it was just a case of getting focused on one word and not considering another word. My opponent could have played clankier here and instead tried the phony frick, which did not sound correct to me. I believe frack is good with an A, but not with an I. But I'm not 100% sure on that either. Let's check that out. Check. I'm using the check command. Frack is also invalid, but perhaps it'll be good in a future dictionary. That is a hydraulic fracturing. May be spelled that way. I'm not sure. That's a technique for getting gas, natural gas, out of the ground. So I challenged, and it was my turn. I played Jarrell. I'm glad I spotted that. So now my opponent again could have played clankier, instead played crank, and that gave me a great play for my Y, and the computer agrees that Yagi was an excellent play. All right. My opponent plays off just an O and an E. My opponent at this point is also looking to try to balance their rack. Fake here, that was my play. Wow, my opponent could have played essay for 51 points. Where is that? 14B. 14B. E-S-S-A-Y, getting the Y on the triple letter square. So that's a high scoring play in of itself, plus also pluralizing faker. All right. I again have a lot of vowels. I considered to play Hoys, but I didn't see a good place to play it. Oh, I see. I could have played from 14A, but that's a very undefensive play. Instead, I went more for defense. Actually, I'm not even considering defense at this point. I'm considering scoring points and balancing my rack. All right. Now, my opponent had anuresis but did not spot that. Perhaps my opponent does not know that word. In any case, that's not an easy word to spot. Iodize. I did consider that, but I didn't see a place to play it. Oh, I see. Iodize right here. Okay, well, that would have been better than exchanging. I think I was getting a little low on time and starting to panic, and I did want to see if I could pick up one of those blanks, so I went for tile turnover. All right. And here, at this point, I kind of switched into a defensive mode, and I played the word FES. Now, the computer is recommending Fs, but then again, that plays up into this triple lane. I don't think that's indicated at this point. Just the board configuration favors me if I can keep this blocked up now, considering that I'm a few points up on the score. All right, I could have played the word triple, but again, I don't like that too much. Triple on the triple word score. I don't like that very much. It's not very defensive. I instead played pet, which is more defensive, and for only one fewer point. And here, did I have a bingo? I did not. And I'm just playing to keep this very blocked up. That's possibly not a very good play, but at this point I'm running low on time, and I just don't want to do anything that really opens up the board. My opponent does open the board, and I immediately try to block it down. Did I have a bingo here? I did. I had the word bristled through the S, B-R-I. See, now I was considering D-I-S words. I didn't consider B-R-I-S. Well, that was a missed bingo, but with running out of time, I did want to just block up the board. So I played B-I. Now, did my opponent have a bingo through either of those pairs? No. So that's good. So at least my blocking play did guarantee the win, even though I had a much better play making the bingo. And at this point, pretty much anything that scores some points will win the game. I played the word stead. My opponent's highest scoring play is zags, which was made. All right, so the final score in that game was 359 points to 342, a winning margin of 17 points. So, what is the moral of this game? What I tried to do when I was up and I saw that I could win the game by preventing my opponent from getting a bingo was just trying to keep the board very closed up. I did miss a bingo towards the end, which would have gotten me a better spread, but in any case, I'm happy to win the game. So, I hope you all enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you got something valuable out of it. Thank you for watching. My name is Brian Galebuck, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.